Guys and girls, welcome back to another Assassin's Creed video, and today I'm giving you guys some brand new gameplay that was shown at a live stream event for TwitchCon2017. Now this is straight from the AC Origins Masterclass, where we actually get some Q&A bits and some tad more information from Ashraf Ismail and Andy or Esco Blades, and we actually get to see some new environments, some new missions, and of course some of that sweet gameplay Ash just loves talking about so very much. Guys, if you do want to enjoy the video, click that like button down below, comment what is your favourite thing about in Assassin's Creed Origins, and subscribe for the chance to win a copy of Assassin's Creed Origins on the platform of your choice. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, I certainly do. Bye for now, and have an amazing day.
This is, just a bunch of stuff that you can do in gameplay. Here, what we're showing off is there's a lot of wildlife. So, for example, crocodiles. Here, we're going to tame a crocodile. It's an ability that you can gain. So you have to put a crocodile to sleep, or it's actually any animal. As long as you put the animal to sleep, you can tame it, and it'll follow you. It'll fight for you. It'll be there for you. So here, it even attacked its own buddy there.
Pro tip, tame hippos.
Here we have Senu. Senu, not only a way to see the world and explore the world, but also to see the opportunities of the world. Here we're using Senu to tag sort of the enemies in this little military camp, and other potential opportunities like the brazier or ballistas and so on. Here we have another ability, which is poison. So let's say we assassinate somebody, or there's a dead body around, you can apply poison, which will now affect other people. So it'll do things like do damage over time, of course, but it'll also make them really sick. So I'm not sure if you see it in the video, but it gets quite gruesome.
In addition to that, it will decay the body as well, very slowly over time.
Yeah. So the thing is, on all the tools that we've made and all the weapons and combat stuff, we actually want people to mix and match a lot of this stuff to see like how wild it can get. You can take a body, poison it, pick it up, put it on the back of your horse, send that horse through the camp to poison people. I actually want people to see how creative ways to clean out camps. Here, so let's say we're at night. Nighttime matters. So again, because guards have day-night schedules. Some guards will sleep at night, so it might be advantageous to come at night. Here we have an animal inside this cage. So by shooting the cage, it kind of releases, I think it's a lion. So just to create a little bit of chaos and noise for you to sneak around. We have a brazier that's close by. So a brazier is an alarm system, so they light this to call in for reinforcements. But you can booby trap it. So here we'll just get their attention, and so one guy will go run. Okay, yeah, we have fire propagation, so fire can do a lot of damage. Poor guy is lighting the brazier. So here we have. We wanted to bring back the viewpoints. Even though we were changing a lot in the game, we thought this was a nice legacy element that paid homage to the series. The big difference this time is it's not unfogging the map. It's revealing points of interest that maybe you haven't come across yet, but it also increases Senu's perception. So that tagging that you saw earlier, it gets bigger and bigger the more viewpoints you sync. So here, for example, that little question mark was what we found with the viewpoint. If we go to that specific interrogation point, it's what we call a stone circle. So these were, so we have proof of these, that they existed. These were real rock outcroppings that were clearly made by people, set up in a certain way. Nobody really knows what they're for, so we put our interpretation on it, which was to reflect the Egyptian view of astrology, because it was very important to them, and we tried to infuse it in there. So there's this, let's say, little game where you're sort of aligning the stars. We've turned off, just so everybody knows, we've turned off the VO here, but there's normally Bayek speaking about something. He's sort of telling the story of the god that this represents. And so there's actually a very relevant narrative element to these little things. So you get to learn about the gods and their representation for the people of Egypt.
Ash, do you have a favorite Egyptian god or goddess?
Oh, it has to be Horus, the falcon-headed god, obviously.
It has nothing to do with birds in Assassin's Creed, is it?
Yeah, birds, always birds. Here we have a temple of Sekhmet. So Sekhmet, being known as the Lady of Slaughter, she was out to destroy humanity, but some very clever priests made her drink, let's say, intoxicating water, which puts her to sleep. And so she becomes Sekhmet, which is the cat, the feline representation. Anyway, you get to learn about some of this stuff in the game. But the point is, there's a lot of tombs in the world. There's a lot to discover. There's also a lot of intrigue and danger there. So, for example, they're not just empty places. There could be snakes and threats. It's a good place to find loot. Here you have a torch that you can take out at any moment. You will need it for these locations. They're very dark. I should have mentioned it earlier, but when we threw the torch down, you can light your arrows with the torch that's on the ground, or you can use it to just create fire somewhere else. Here we have some underwater, so we wanted to make sure, again, if you're traveling through Egypt, that even the water, the rivers, the lakes, there are places to explore. So we're using Senu to kind of just scout what's possibly underneath the water. And so here we see some treasures.
Sorry, in any body of water that's deep enough, you can dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of stuff is underwater. There's sunken tombs, temples, ships. There's threats, of course. There's crocodiles, hippos. And even the water itself, depending on where you go in the water, if it's swampy, if it's muddy, if it's the Mediterranean waters, it all has its own texture and look and color palette. Here we're in the deserts, and we wanted to make sure that when you're in the desert that you had a very unique experience of suffering from overheat, from exhaustion. So here you can see a little bit of, there's some kind of effects on the screen. Bayek starting to stumble around. And this gets more and more intense the longer you are under the desert sun. And eventually, Bayek will start hallucinating. So there we see something there. And these can actually get quite intense and quite epic. We wanted to create a unique experience in deserts, and there is even at some point some narrative little tidbits that sneak into these overheat moments. If you go into the shade, you will reduce the effect of this kind of stuff. So here we're in a very large military location. This is called Nikyu Fort, one of the forts in the game. So sleep knives being a good tool for stealth. Here we picked up a sword. So loot is very important in the game in terms of the weapons, rarities. The more rare the equipment is, the more attributes it has, so you can do some really funky stuff eventually. Where we were earlier was the front of the fort. Here, this is actually sort of a secret entrance that Senu can find. So Senu can sense where these secret entrances are, and you can use them to get deep into a fort. So here we're in some caverns under that same fort we were just at, and so you're coming up from the well. So there you saw a little bit of blood. That's just a little bit of environment storytelling where the let's say the hostages of the port, they're thrown down this well, which actually what creates lures crocodiles there. And it's a systemic thing. Blood in water attracts crocodiles. So just by tossing bodies down that well, you'll get more and more crocodiles.
Time to die, Philae.
There are world bosses.
This is the boss.
No, I was going to say there were world bosses outside of the arena as well.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that we for the people who love combat and who enjoy the combat system and who want to test its limits, we have a lot of bosses in the world, in gladiator arenas, inside quests. There's a set of bosses that roam the world hunting after Bayek.
I have a shot.
So here, this is the warrior bow. Let's say it's a shotgun.
You'll never leave here alive, fool.
Oh, Adam. Good timing. By the way, Andy was playing this.
Hey, I killed him. Hey.
So here, any fire source will actually light your arrows. So fire plays an important role in terms of gameplay. So we'll see this dude here. Burning, poor guy. Andy put him out of his misery.
Hey.
Oh, yes.
Hang on.
Obliterated
Arrow to
his
the knee.
kneecap. Yeah.